There were not many people from Wood Mountain sect because they knew that Xianxia's cultivation was not high and was merely at the early stage of world-defying stage divine rank, and all they needed to do was to send 2 middle-stage world-defying stage divine rank S. Of course, Xianxia did not know how many people were following him, but as soon as they appeared, they released a very strong aura. Furthermore, Xianxia's current position was locked on, so he needed to delay for a while for Feng Kuer to seal the time array. All right. Feng Kuer came out from Xianxia's time domain. Xianxia was finally a lot more relieved. He immediately allowed Hu to slowly descend onto a large tree, then conceal himself. Where is he? Why did they suddenly disappear? A black-clothed man held something in his hand and frowned. Impossible. His time array clearly sent out a message. Why did he suddenly not accept it? This guy runs really fast. He just walked out of our Wood Mountain sect's gate not too long ago and already came to such a far place. That's why the elders had no choice but to open the transmission array and teleport us here. This time we used the transmission array. If we can't capture him, we will be punished. The recipe for the world-defying God-becoming Dan is too precious. No matter what, our Wood Mountain sect has to get it. If we can get it this time, then it would be a great merit. On top of each of the 2 men in black was a giant golden eagle. They sat on the back of the eagle, looking down from above. All of them are in the middle stage of the world-defying stage divine rank. Xianxia could finally see the cultivation level of the other party. We should be able to deal with them, Qin Shuang said. How about this, you guys deal with one guy with Shao Kuer? I deal with one guy myself. Xianxia felt that there shouldn't be any problems dealing with a middle-stage world-defying stage divine rank. The other girls combined their sealing powers with Feng Kuer's, so dealing with one of them wouldn't be a problem. All right, I'll attack first, then you guys can come out. Xianxia said. Who doesn't need to intervene for the time being, unless we are no match for him. Xianxia immediately allowed the 6 beasts to fuse together and transform into a red fire dragon. The red fire dragon's energy fused with Xianxia's, causing his arrogant morale to instantly increase by leaps and bounds. The 6 beasts in his divine sensi had also risen along with his cultivation. Now that they had fused together, they were even stronger and more terrifying. Xianxia's sudden appearance carried a sharp, arrogant morale, catching the 2 men in black off guard. Because the arrogant morale that Xianxia had released was not from the early stage of world-defying stage divine rank. Hurry up and kill him, otherwise we'll be the ones to die. A black-clothed man roared. He had already thrown several punches at Xianxia. Each of his punches condensed with a burst of arrogant morale. The arrogant morale of the middle stage world-defying stage divine rank was even more vigorous, as though wave after wave of overlapping waves were charging over, and it seemed as though it could penetrate space itself as it arrived in an instant. As soon as Xianxia appeared, he was sent flying backwards by the wave of arrogant morale fist force. His body seemed to be in pain from being continuously beaten up, and the crown of the huge tree below was being torn apart by the tornado of arrogant morale, which covered the sky with broken leaves and broken pieces of wood. At the same time, Bai Yuyu, Qin Shuang and Long Shui had already started their attack, rushing towards another black-clothed man. He Feng Yuan and Su Meiyao followed closely behind. Xianxia and the others had just stepped into the world-defying stage divine rank not long ago, so their use of arrogant morale was inferior to the 2 black-clothed men. However, their combat experience was extremely rich, especially by Yuyu and Su Meiyao, so Xianxia did not need to worry about them. We have to end this quickly. Xianxia had already summoned his 6 realms mirrors and allowed it to hide itself. At the same time, he gathered arrogant morale and then used the power of space to teleport over. Seeing so many people suddenly appear, and they were even women, the man in black was also startled, but he was not worried about his comrades because he could tell that the girls all had an early-stage world-defying stage divine rank cultivation, and he was even more concerned about Xianxia, who had released his arrogant morale just now, but was still a mid-stage world-defying stage divine rank cultivator. He was extremely surprised. Unable to track his movements, could he be? The black-clothed man was shocked. He immediately guessed that Xianxia had used spatial force, and following that, he felt a spatial fluctuation coming from his side. However, he didn't have enough time to react. A dull rumbling sound rang, and when Xianxia teleported over, he used his arrogant morale to launch a strike. Xianxia's arrogant morale was close to the middle stage, and after he struck out, the shock wave was like a surging tide, wave after wave of attacks. As the black-clothed man was knocked flying, waves of shock wave after wave of shock wave continuously surged forth, as though the wheels were continuously crushing and crushing his body over and over again. When the black-clothed man was sent flying, he had no way of fighting back. It was as if he was suddenly submerged by a wave. He did not know what to do and could not struggle free from the wave. Xianxia took the chance and controlled the 6 realms mirrors to fly over quickly, smashing it into the black-clothed man's head. The man in black felt dizzy and his mind went blank after being spun so fiercely. You bastards of the Wood Mountain sect, if you want to capture me, I have to have a certain amount of strength. Xianxia had already reached the black-clothed man's side. He swung his 6 realms mirrors and smashed it towards the black-clothed man. The 6 realms mirrors exploded with flames, smashing the black-clothed man into ashes. The other black-clothed person, although he was in the middle stage of the world-defying stage divine rank and his arrogant morale was also very strong, facing these few women, even though they were only in the early stage of the world-defying stage divine rank, none of them were weak. Qin Shuang was proficient in the way of the sword. The purple yang Excalibur she had refined was extremely sharp, and had also pierced several holes in the black-clothed man's body. Su Meiyao was proficient in fire, burning the black-clothed man's face to ashes, with one of his arms hanging limply by his side. It was because Bai Yuyu had used the bone-melting magic palm. Right now, he was in a miserable state that he could not escape, nor could he fight back. Leave it to me. Long Shui, who had been preparing for a long time, let out a shout as she released her heavenly dragon seal. A few white dragons suddenly appeared around the black-clothed man, and like chains, they wrapped around him, causing rumbling sounds in the air. Bai Yuyu and the others immediately distanced themselves as the huge dragon had already descended, engulfing the black-clothed man. It let out an angry roar, then exploded, only to see the blue, red, and black lightning continuously dancing wildly, wreaking havoc on a large amount of trees and turning them into smoke. The black-clothed man was also torn apart by the berserk heavenly dragon seal, disappearing from this world. These wastes, Wood Mountain sect is really looking down on people. Long Shui snorted. Hurry up and leave this place, Feng Kur said. After the few women returned to the Yu Yao Mountain Villa, Xianxia summoned Ahu and rode him to the Tsang Fire City. After returning to the Tsang Fire City, I have to remind Long Xian and Ling Yong first. I don't want them to leak anything related to me. Chun Xiang thought to himself, because his name had already spread throughout the Wood Mountain sect. On the way back to the Tsang Fire City, Feng Kur was trying his best to erase the imprint on the time array. Only by doing this could he avoid being tracked by the Wood Mountain sect. He should be able to succeed. This isn't a difficult task. Feng Kur laughed. Dead? How was this possible? That brat just stepped into the world-defying stage divine rank, and he is only at the early stage, and after 2 middle stage he actually died? One of the clan elders of the Wood Mountain sect said angrily. These are my 2 precious disciples. What did you say back then? Isn't it just an early stage world-defying stage divine rank? Now look, Elder Blue, we've neglected this. Another elder sighed. Did you find any traces of the fight on the scene? Elder Blue was quite angry. Although he is at the early stage of the world-defying stage divine rank, the arrogant morale at the scene contains a hint of the aura of a dragon. If I'm not wrong, this kid has an unparalleled divine dragon in his body. I must capture this brat and take out his divine dragon. Only by doing this can I make up for the loss of my 2 disciples. Elder Blue clenched her fists angrily, but her face was full of greed. It was obvious that she wanted to see the divine dragon of arrogance. Xiang was currently in the midst of returning to the Tsang Fire City. He did not know that his prideful divine dragon had been targeted again, and this was not the first time this had happened. It had been like this for many years. When he returned to the Tsang Fire City, Feng Kur had already successfully erased the imprint on it. 2 months have passed. There are still 10 months left. Su Meiyao said. I know. I'll go and see if Long Xian is out yet. When Xianxiang returned to the inn, he saw Song Long Profound. Big brother, I have mastered all the Tao creation incantation you gave me. Song Long Profound laughed out loud. I'm already capable of refining weapons. The old guys in my clan have a whole new level of respect for me. That's good. Chun Xiang patted his shoulder and laughed. Thank you, big bro. Song Long Profound lamented. If it were not for Chun Xiang giving him so many Tao creations incantation for him to learn, he would not have such achievements. Long Xian, you definitely can't reveal anything about me to your family, Chun Xiang said to Song Long Profound very seriously. I know. I didn't say anything. Song Long Profound nodded his head. I also let my stupid father keep it a secret. Don't worry. If Song Jiangnan knew that his son called him an idiot, he didn't know what expression he would have. Also, go find Ling Yong first and tell him not to spread my name everywhere. Chun Xiang warned again. Big brother, did you offend a big enemy? Song Long Profound asked. Yes, I offended the Wood Mountain sect. Chun Xiang said truthfully. Impressive, big brother. You even dare to provoke Wood Mountain sect. You truly are worthy of being my big brother. Song Long Profound actually laughed out loud. This isn't a good thing. Quickly find old Ling and tell him not to talk too much. Chun Xiang said snappily. I'll go now. Song Long Profound immediately left the inn. Chun Xiang asked Jiang Sime. How are the medicinal herbs? It's almost done. Very well, just a little bit more. Jiang Sime said. At that time, as long as you refine this medicine, you will be able to directly refine a world-defying God-becoming Dan. The quality should improve a little, and you will also have twice the results with half the work. Jiang Sime then asked Chun Xiang for another world-defying God-becoming Dan. This was all to help them absorb the medicinal ingredients cultivated by him, so as to increase their compatibility with this kind of medicinal ingredient. After all, several types of medicinal ingredients were combined into one, becoming a new breed. Song Long Profound returned very quickly. Old Ling, that fellow was worried that you might not trust him. He even made a blood oath to go all out. Song Long Profound laughed. That's good. Chun Xiang heaved a sigh of relief, then took out some Tao Creations incantations and gave them to Song Long Profound. These are Space Mantra and Fusion Spell. Learn well. Song Long Profound was a genius who learned the Tao Creations incantation. He was the same as Xiao Xianglin, maybe even worse. However, this kind of genius could only be encountered by luck and not sought after. There's something new to learn. Song Long Profound was very excited. Long Xian, how did you learn so quickly? It's only been a few days. Chun Xiang asked curiously. My old man gave me the right to use the time formation in the Song family. Song Long Profound said. He suddenly called me back to use it, but unfortunately our Song family's time formation is not as marketable as the Ling family's. Otherwise I would have let Big Brother use it. No problem. You can do it yourself. I have my ways. Chun Xiang said. Can you still use the time formation? Of course you can. I will go back now and use it. I want to learn more of the Tao Creations incantation quickly, so that I can help Big Brother in the future. Knowing that Chun Xiang had provoked the Wood Mountain sect, Song Long Profound felt a lot of pressure. As Chun Xiang's brother, if he could not help at that time, he would feel very bad. Song Long Profound left the tavern and returned to the Song family. While Chun Xiang was patiently waiting for Jiang Sime and the others to succeed, he even used the first stage of time domain on the 3 girls. Half a day later, Jiang Sime said, It's finally done. Chun Xiang got a very strange flower from Jiang Sime. An entire flower was already half the height of a person. This was a very large flower, and its petals had many different colors, emitting a weak light. The most surprising thing was that the stem of the flower was very big, like a small tree trunk. The leaves were also very hard, thick and dark green, like jade. What a strange flower. Is it really useful? Chun Xiang was already itching to refine it, but they still need to use this flower to reproduce even more before he could start using it to concoct pills. Giant rainbow flower. Jiang Sime laughed. This is my name. Not bad. As long as it's useful, it doesn't matter what name it is. Xianxia laughed. Now, all of you are preparing to use that time array to cultivate. With Sieging and I together, our speed should be much faster. We can probably make one in 20 years. Jiang Sime said. Once the time array was activated, every day on the outside it would be 100 years inside. In other words, it was not bad for them to be able to produce 5 of them in a day. You have consumed a lot of Crystal Emperor. Feng Kuo suddenly said. Running the array disk for 2 hours will only consume 10 Crystal Emperor. To use up 120 Crystal Emperor in a single day, such a huge consumption rate left him in shock. What if we use Tao Creation Holy Stone? Xianxia asked. He had more than 100 Tao Creation Holy Stone currently, so he was not really lacking in them. One Tao Creation Holy Stone is equivalent to the energy of 1,000 Crystal Emperor. So one Tao Creation Holy Stone can probably be used for around 8 days. Feng Kuo said. Let's just use the Tao Creation S. If you make the 3 young girl Danling stay in the time domain all day to condense Crystal Emperor, it would make them very boring and degenerate. The young girl Danling S inside the Yu Yao Mountain Villa were refining Crystal Emperor and playing around with Long Shui and the others happily. If they were allowed to enter the time domain, they would also become very depressed after a long time. All right, let's use the Tao Creation Holy Stone, Xianxia said. Xianxia placed 10 pieces of Tao Creation Holy Stone in the time formation, which could be used for a long time. It shouldn't be a problem for 2 people to enter the time array, Feng Kuo said. She was already prepared to activate the time array. So Meijing sisters entered the time array carrying the multicolored giant multicolored flower. It's open, Feng Kuo said. Xianxia still had a few giant flower on him. He would use the time domain now and continue refining them. Inside the secret room, he could not sense anything outside, but he could contact the Yu Yao Mountain Villa inside the Divine Sense Sea World. After refining more than 20 world-defying God-becoming Dan, he could feel a very strong wave coming from outside. The fluctuations that he could feel even from the time domain was extremely strong, so he immediately retracted it. What's going on? Xianxia looked at the secret room. It was not destroyed, but a strong aura was constantly surging in from the outside. It's Ling Yong's. Xianxia immediately walked out of the secret room and saw that Ling Yong was inside. Ling Yong, what's wrong? Xianxia asked anxiously. Something terrible has happened. You actually provoked Wood Mountain sect. Ling Yong anxiously said the moment he saw Xianxia. Before, Song Long Profound had told him to not speak about Xianxia everywhere, but he did not tell him that Xianxia had provoked the Wood Mountain sect. Xianxia nodded. Has Wood Mountain sect found him yet? Almost there. Ling Yong let out a sigh and heavily sat on a chair. When you helped me sell the world-defying God-becoming Dan before, didn't you already get those buyers to swear blood oaths? Xianxia said. I can't figure it out for you. That's right, but even so, the Wood Mountain sect has managed to find out a few things, because they know that there are a lot of people here who can step into the world-defying stage divine rank in a short amount of time. Ling Yong said, this is what they want to say. Wood Mountain sect is extremely concerned about this matter right now and has already sent people to the various large cities to investigate it. I only came to look for you because I just received some news. We can't stay in this place any longer. Xianxia sighed. I need to go to another city. You don't mind, but I'm in trouble. If I leave the Ling family, I will suffer a great loss. Because Ling Yong was helping Xianxia with the sale of world-defying God-becoming Dan, if Wood Mountain sect was really the worst off, he would definitely not be able to escape. Is there a city around here? Xianxia asked. Of course, Ling Yong said. How about this? I'll tell you to bring some world-defying God-becoming Dan to sell, but you have to be careful, that way you can distract them. Xianxia said. Go to the big cities and stroll around. Sell some world-defying God-becoming Danes, that way you can attract their attention and won't need them to focus on Tsang Fire City. If you sell a world-defying God-becoming Dan, I'll give you a Tao Creation Holy Stone. Xianxia said. The price of the world-defying God-becoming Dan has risen to 10 now. I was selling it in Wood Mountain sect before, and there's a lot of people fighting over it. Really? Ling Yong didn't think that the world-defying God-becoming Dan could be sold at such a high price. Chun Xiang took out 30 world-defying God-becoming Dan-s and told Ling Yong to sell 5 in one city. If he sold all of them, Ling Yong would be able to get 30 of the Tao Creation's holy stone. Ling Yong took Chun Xiang's world-defying God-becoming Dan and sold it. He felt that if he could obtain a sum of Tao Creation holy stone, it would be alright even if he left the Ling family. If he was in the Ling family, it would not be so easy for him to earn so many Tao Creation holy stone. Looks like Wood Mountain sect and the rest are going to eat me up. Chun Xiang returned to the secret room and continued refining the world-defying God-becoming Dan. He thought that the reason why Wood Mountain sect caught him was mainly to recover their losses. Their competition often had them, but no one had ever taken the rewards for it. This time they suffered a huge loss. Furthermore, they sent 2 disciples to chase after Chun Xiang, and they were killed by Chun Xiang. If they could not get Chun Xiang's world-defying God-becoming Dan-s pill formulas, it would be difficult for them to make up for their losses this time, so they would not let this matter rest. The reason why Chun Xiang stayed in the Tsang Fire City was mainly to gather information. Only in this kind of city would he be able to obtain some important information, otherwise, he wouldn't be able to know what kind of competition the Wood Mountain sect was in, and wouldn't be able to obtain time array. After a day had passed, Meijing sisters came out from inside and gave Chun Xiang 5 colored giant multicolored flower. Now we can finally begin. I wonder if it's as easy to refine as they say. Chun Xiang placed the multicolored giant multicolored flower into the Tianchuang furnace and released flames to begin refining the medicinal ingredients. The refining process was extremely smooth. Although there were 5 medicine soul after the 5-colored giant multicolored flower was refined, these medicine soul were all linked together, like a 5-star baby. Other than the difference in color, all the other auras were the same. Chun Xiang only carved the fusion spell into the medicine soul, and they quickly fused together. During the fusion, Chun Xiang drew Feng Kuer's attention. However, the moment they merged, it was extremely peaceful. Without any ripples, it formed into a piece of high-quality medicine crystal. The mysterious thing was, the quality after the fusion was much higher than when he was using giant flower. This giant rainbow flower is really powerful. Chun Xiang couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. The whole process of refining the pellet could be said to be incomparably smooth, as it saved him a lot of effort. Previously, he needed 30 days to concoct a batch of pills. But now, he only needed 10 days to do so. It's too easy to refine. Chun Xiang opened the lid of the pill furnace and took out a world-defying God-becoming Dan. Even after eating it and stepping into the world-defying stage divine rank, the people at the peak of Aoshi holy stage would still have a lot of energy left over. Of course, Chun Xiang didn't plan to sell this pill for the time being. Even if it was left for him to eat, it wouldn't be enough. Su Meiyao was also refining world-defying God-becoming Dan in Yuyao Mountain Villa. She was refining with giant flower. This was to familiarize herself with the process. When the medicine soul was fusing, she also needed Feng Kuer's help. Otherwise, she would not be able to pass it. First refine a few pills, then eat them together. Chun Xiang had used the second stage of time domain, and even though he had refined 5 batches of profound energy inside, he had only used 50 days. Eat one and see its effects. After eating 1 pellet, Chun Xiang quickly felt that this world-defying God-becoming Dan was much better than the one before. This was the reason why the quality of the spirit herbs had improved. Even 1 pill would take him 10 days. Around 200 pills would be enough to enter the intermediate stage. It's not a long time. Chun Xiang estimated that the world-defying God-becoming Dan-s that he would need. According to the speed at which he was refining pills, he would need 50 to 60 years. The speed at which the Meijing sisters was growing inside became faster and faster. Furthermore, they were cultivating or learning the Tao Creation's incantations from time to time. Chun Xiang concocted pills inside the time domain, then ate the refined pills. He didn't know how much time passed until he felt his proud divine soul had increased and his arrogant morale had become stronger. At this time, he had already stepped into the middle stage of the world-defying stage divine rank. I finally stepped into the intermediate stage. It's really not easy. Xianxia had stayed inside the time domain for a long time, and after asking Feng Kur about the time outside, about a month had passed. What if you want to step into the late period of world-defying magic realm now? How many grains do you need to eat? He Feng Yuan asked. At least 10 times. That's 2,000 pills, but I don't know how long that will take. Xianxia shook his head. The young girl Danling could not evolve right now and could not condense pellets like it did in the past. Therefore, if he wanted to obtain a large amount of pellets, he would need to grow medicinal herbs and then refine pills. Looks like I have to look for better pill formulas and ingredients, Xianxia said. It had already been 3 months since Xiao Xianglin was captured, and he had already stepped into the middle stage of the world-defying stage divine rank. Xianxia made a trip to the Ling family's shop, but Ling Yong had not come back yet. Are you looking for Ling Yong? A middle-aged man asked. What's your name? When Xianxia came to look for Ling Yong, he had already changed his appearance. Li Fei. Oh, Ling Yong might not be able to come back. The middle-aged man sighed. He was taken away. Who took him? Xianxia's heart jumped. Obviously, he was captured by the Wood Mountain sect. Wood Mountain sect. Because he is related to Xianxia, he was caught by the Wood Mountain sect. The middle-aged man was extremely helpless. Ling Yong is my son. Ling Yong was indeed taken away by the Wood Mountain sect. Who is Xianxia? Why is it that when he had a relationship with Xianxia, he was taken away by the Wood Mountain sect? Xianxia pretended not to know anything and asked. After Xianxia won Wood Mountain sect's competition, the disciples of the Wood Mountain sect wanted to look for him for guidance. But there were conflicts and 2 disciples of the Wood Mountain sect were killed by Xianxia. Ling Yong's father sighed. Xianxia refined a miraculous pellet like the world-defying God-becoming Dan, and was originally a genius alchemist. He asked Ling Yong to help him sell the world-defying God-becoming Dan, and in order for Wood Mountain sect to find out where Xianxia was, he kidnapped Ling Yong, while Ling Yong refused to leave his hiding place no matter what. Ling Yong was very touched that Ling Yong had kept such a secret. What a helpless matter. Xianxia patted Ling Yong's father's shoulders, then walked out of the Ling family store. He definitely had to rescue Ling Yong, who had been captured. Ling Yong did not reveal the inn he was hiding in. It could be said to be very loyal, and he might very well be forced to confess by torture every day. After knowing that something had happened to Ling Yong, Xianxia immediately rushed to Wood Mountain sect. Wood Mountain sect? Those trash. Xianxia rode on whose back and quickly headed to Wood Mountain sect. During this month, Ling Yong went to various large cities to sell his world-defying God-becoming Dan, and he was extremely cautious. However, he had long gotten used to this kind of thing. He had to make Wood Mountain sect pay a huge price anyway. He had to let Wood Mountain sect know the consequences of angering a person like him. That was why they always thought that what they had done was the right thing to do. Even if they stole Xianxia's pill formulas, they felt that it was natural because Xianxia had won their precious prize in their competition, and they thought that Xianxia had to pay a price for it. The city outside the Wood Mountain sect was filled with disciples of the Wood Mountain sect. Although they knew that Xianxia was not in the city, they still felt that he might return because they had captured Ling Yong. Although Ling Yong was only helping Xianxia with the world-defying God-becoming Dan, they saw that Ling Yong was extremely secretive about it and did not want to deal with it. They could tell that Xianxia had a deep relationship with him. Xianxia turned into a hunchback as he brought Feng Kur to walk around outside of the giant wall of the Wood Mountain sect. How is it? Xianxia asked. With the spatial formation in your 6 realms mirrors and your power of time, you can pass through these 5 layers of enchantments. Feng Kur said, when that time comes, you must be careful, since horses have lost their hooves. Xianxia nodded. Let Feng Kur return to the Yu Yao Mountain Villa, and then activated the 6 realms mirrors, activating the spatial formation inside. After opening it, he circulated the power of time and poured it into the spatial formation, releasing the time and space power and bringing him through the Wood Mountain sect's 5th layer of enchantment. After passing through the barrier protecting Wood Mountain sect, Xianxia felt that something was wrong. Crap! Something happened. Feng Kur said, This Wood Mountain sect's enchantment is indeed powerful. Even though you can pass through it, you can feel that there are people inside. Xianxia immediately activated his counterpower. He quickly walked up to the buildings, and not long after he left, a few elderly people appeared. I need to quickly find Ling Yong. Xianxia was a little nervous at this moment. If the people from the Wood Mountain sect suspected that he had barged in, then martial law would be immediately imposed on the place where Ling Yong was imprisoned. Don't be nervous. You'll definitely be able to save Ling Yong. Feng Kuer said. Right now, you have to be careful to not let your aura become chaotic and remain calm. Xianxia had already entered the group of floors. At the same time, the Wood Mountain sect was ringing a bell because someone had barged into the Wood Mountain sect. Wood Mountain sect was protected by several barriers, and those who were able to enter were mostly the strong ones. All the disciples had serious expressions. It was currently night, so Xianxia entered an alley and captured a middle-aged world-defying stage divine rank. After passing out, he handed it over to Bai Yuyu so he could use the soul-absorbing devil spell on this middle-aged man. Do you know where Ling Yong is? Xianxia asked. In the dungeon. I'll tell you how to get there, Bai Yuyu said. Xianxia had already become invisible and was not discovered by anyone. He could also be at ease now by walking quickly on the road towards the dungeon's entrance. The entrance to the dungeon was in a mountain. The stone door of the cave was opened, but there were two big men guarding the door. Although the bell rang, it didn't affect them. Xianxia quietly entered the cave, but the two big men did not notice him. There was a stone stairs that led to the dungeon inside the cave. He walked down without thinking, and when he arrived at the bottom level, he heard a miserable scream. It was Ling Yong's voice. Hearing this tragic yell, Xianxia's heart was enraged. Xianxia immediately rushed towards the direction the voice came from, only to see a few people using a type of long steel needles to stab into Ling Yong's body. They were extremely vicious. Ling Yong's upper body was already riddled with holes. Kuer, borrow your gold needle. Xianxia shouted. Feng Kuer's mysterious golden needle was extremely powerful. It could easily pierce through many things, even in the Tao Creation Mountain. Shamilu. Koem Shamilu. Calm Ko. After Xianxia obtained the golden needles, he controlled the golden needles to fly out and pierce through the heads of the 5 elders. At the same time their heads were penetrated, they were also affected by the energy that exploded out from the golden needles, causing them incomparable pain. Xianxia immediately took away the needles in their hands and pierced them fiercely with his needles. These old men were all from the late period of world-defying magic realm, but their heads looked like paper in front of the mysterious golden needles. They were pierced through in an instant, and after getting heavily injured in front of the divine sensei, they were heavily injured by Xianxia. Ling Yong immediately transferred him into the 6 realms mirrors, then let the Meijing sisters come out of the time array to release a power of regeneration to treat Ling Yong. After Xianxia got rid of the few old men who had tortured Ling Yong, he immediately left the prison. Ling Yong has escaped. Person suddenly shouted. It was unknown how he found out, but Xianxia had already successfully saved Ling Yong. Suddenly, in the pitch-black night sky, a large amount of golden powder appeared. After the powder appeared, it suddenly dropped down and landed on Xianxia's body, causing his body to shine with a gold light. Over there! Someone suddenly shouted. There's someone there. I can't see his appearance. Xianxia never thought that the Wood Mountain sect would use this kind of method to find him, and he had already reached the side of the giant wall. You want to catch Laozi? No way! Xianxia snorted and immediately activated the spatial formation. Adding his own power of time, he pierced through the few layers of enchantments. He ran out, because just now the Wood Mountain sect's barrier was moving again. Xianxia's entire body was covered in golden powder. He immediately entered the 6 realms mirrors. Otherwise, he would be extremely conspicuous in the dark of the night. This Wood Mountain sect is indeed the great sect of the Tao Creation Mountain. Xianxia began to clean up the golden powder. The disciples of the Wood Mountain sect would not be touched by it, because their sect's clothes could resist it. On the other hand, Xianxia was different. After Xianxia finished cleaning up, he was finally relieved. The 6 realms mirrors had already flown out of the city. Originally, Xianxia wanted to go and see Lingyong, but he suddenly felt a strong suction force that sucked the 6 realms mirrors back. What's going on? Xianxia was extremely shocked. He immediately came out from the 6 realms mirrors and felt a wave of extremely terrifying arrogant morale. He was certain that this wave of arrogant morale had already surpassed the world-defying stage divine rank, and was extremely terrifying. The super-strong warriors of Wood Mountain sect are making their move? Is it over? Xianxia suddenly felt an incomparable despair. In front of such terrifying power, he didn't even have the chance to struggle. He suddenly thought of Xiao Xianglin. Xiao Xianglin was still waiting for him to save him, but right now he had no strength to resist. He immediately thought of killing Evil Dragon. He felt that killing Evil Dragon might be able to make him stronger, or maybe he could fuse with the Tao Creation's incantation and make him stronger. In that instant, he thought of many methods, but he felt that they would not work against this kind of power. Follow me. Originally, his body was being quickly pulled towards the Wood Mountain sect by the suction force. However, the moment the white shadow appeared, he only felt his body loosen up, and then a spatial fluctuation came over, causing him to be taken away. After a while, Xianxia came to the side of a river. Lying on the riverbank, he held up the water to wash his face, and in the end, even stuffed his head into the river to let the ice-cold water wash away the fear in his heart. "Thank you, Senior." Xianxia gasped for breath and said. The person who saved him was Wandering Old Man. Xianxia never expected to meet him here. There's no need to be polite. I have long hated Wood Mountain sect and his people. Wandering Old Man's benevolent face revealed a bright smile. I thought I almost died this time. What is that guy's background? This is too scary. When Xianxia thought back to it, he still felt a lingering fear. In that instant, his life and death seemed to have been dictated by someone. Leader of the Wood Mountain sect, beyond the world-defying stage divine rank, is an arrogant heavenly being. Wandering Old Man said, "It's a very strong person in Tao Creation Mountain. Senior, I never would have thought that I would meet you again. Furthermore, you even saved me. I am truly deeply grateful." When Xianxia thought back to it, he also felt that it was very lucky. I would appear in the Wood Mountain sect mainly because I heard about the world-defying God-becoming Dan you refined, and was very curious, so I came over. It's a pity that I didn't manage to buy the world-defying God-becoming Dan, but I found out that the person who sold it for you was captured by the Wood Mountain sect, and then I waited outside the Wood Mountain sect. Wandering Old Man sighed. Brat, you're quite impressive. You created this Wood Mountain sect and even saved him. This time this Wood Mountain sect has lost a lot of face. Even I find it hard to charge in. Xianxia took out a world-defying God-becoming Dan that was refined from a multicolored giant flower and gave it to Wandering Old Man. I still have some left. Take them all out. Xianxia took out a few more pills. There's no need for that much. I only want one pellet to give it a try. Wandering Old Man chuckled, then quickly revealed a surprised expression after eating that piece of world-defying God-becoming Dan. Very good. It really is a pill transformation. Wandering Old Man praised again and again. This pill formula was something that many grandmasters in Tao Creation Mountain had been researching all along, but they did not succeed. So this time Wood Mountain sect is going all out and wants to get your pill formula. Senior, if you want the medicinal formula, I can give it to you as a thank you gift for saving my life. Xianxia immediately said, since he didn't have much of a loss even if he were to give the Wandering Old Man. That won't be necessary. Wandering Old Man shook his head and laughed. I am just curious about this kind of pill. Your pellet contains 6 fusion spell S and 9 increase spell. These incantations are perfectly compatible with the pellet's overall power and can be combined together. This kind of control is not bad. Senior, you flatter me. Xianxia snickered. Using the Tao Creation's incantation to refine pills is something that many grandmasters use frequently in the Tao Creation Mountain. The Wandering Old Man said, but the most powerful thing is still to use world-defying Dan Grain to refine pills. World-defying Dan Grain? What is this? Xianxia asked anxiously. It's something similar to the Tao Creation's incantation. Moreover, it was evolved from the Tao Creation incantation and was modified out by the Alchemist. Adding world-defying Dan Grain-S into the process of refining the pill will make it even more powerful. I don't even know the specifics because I am not the alchemist. The wandering old man said. Xianxia was extremely interested in this world-defying Dan Grain. Senior, how do I obtain the world-defying Dan Grain? There are two ways. One is to comprehend it yourself from the Tao Creation's incantation and improve it to become a world-defying Dan Grain. The other way is to pass on the knowledge of the world-defying Dan Grain to you. The wandering old man said. Xianxia had never heard of world-defying Dan Grain before. From the tone of the wandering old man, this kind of world-defying Dan Grain seemed to be very strong, able to raise the quality of pills. Senior, do you know any alchemist who knows about world-defying Dan Grain? Was curious in his heart. The world-defying Dan Grain-s were very new to him. He wanted to see them for himself. There is this kind of alchemist in my Tao Creation mountain. However, these alchemists do not easily accept disciples. When wandering old man saw Xianxia's curious look, he chuckled. If you really want to learn, I can bring you to a place where you can reap benefits. Is it in this Tao Creation mountain? Xianxia did not want to be too far away from the Tao Creation mountain. It is in this Tao Creation mountain. Wandering old man nodded. Let's go. I'll bring you there now. Wandering old man took out a flying disc, and then he flew in the sky while carrying Xianxia. He must have engraved many flying mantra-s in his flying discs to be able to fly at such a high altitude. Xianxia guessed that the flying discs were very fast, and they could even fly very high. The wandering old man brought Xianxia to a mountain and entered a cave. At the end of the cave was a stone room. Wandering old man took out a glowing stone to illuminate the pitch-black stone room, only to see a very intricate pattern appear on one of the stone walls. Xianxia observed carefully and discovered that the pattern was very similar to the Tao Creation's incantation. He could immediately see the shadow of an increased spell from it. There were only 3 strokes in total, yet they managed to draw out one picture. Xianxia frowned. It's only 3 strokes. The pattern already contains all the increased spell. How exactly did it happen? That's right, this is a world-defying Dan Grain that has evolved from an increased spell. Its name is the Flying Dan Grain, meaning that it can cause the quality of the pellet to soar. Wandering old man nodded. Whether or not you can successfully control this world-defying Dan Grain will depend on yourself. Xianxia frowned. He stared straight at it. He felt that it was very difficult. It seemed easier than increased spell S or even more, but after looking carefully, he felt that it was even more difficult. From what I know, if you want to successfully engrave a pellet of pellet into the world-defying Dan Grain, you must pay a large price. Wandering old man said, time, energy, and even life. The improvement brought by the world-defying Dan Grain-s were, however, extremely worth it. All right. Let me try and see if I can control this world-defying Dan Grain. Xianxia decided to try it. He felt that it was not because it was hard to learn, but because it was hard to feel. Senior, who left this world-defying Dan Grain behind? Xianxia walked over and gently stroked the world-defying Dan Grain on the stone wall. He felt a trace of warmth. A good friend of mine, I was once very interested in world-defying Dan Grain. After that, he carved a world-defying Dan Grain here and gave it to me. It's a pity that I can't control it. Wandering old man shook his head. Senior, you should be from another Tao Creation mountain, right? Xianxia said. I am from Tao Creation Fire Mountain, and I am an elder of the Flame Mountain sect. My name is Yanjiu. If you have the chance to come to the Flame Mountain sect in the future, you can look for me. Yanjiu said. I am going back now. The matter regarding the evil ancestor coming out, the 7 Tao Creation Mountain-s already know about it. Mentioning the evil ancestor, Xianxia's face turned serious. He nodded. This was a huge threat. After Yanjiu left, Xianxia stayed in the stone room and looked at the world-defying Dan Grain on the wall. Ling Yong has woken up. He's recovering pretty well. Jiang Sime reminded Xianxia. Xianxia immediately let Ling Yong come out of the 6 realms mirrors. I didn't expect you to arrive so quickly. When Ling Yong saw Xianxia, he smiled slightly, as if he had forgotten all about the torture he had suffered. I'm really sorry for making you suffer. Xianxia laughed. Then why don't you give me more Tao Creation Holy Stone? Ling Yong took out a bag of Tao Creation Holy Stone. For every world-defying God-becoming Dan you sell, I'll give you 2 of them. What do you think? All right. From the bag that Ling Yong took out, he took out 60 pieces of Tao Creation Holy Stone and handed the rest over to Xianxia. I just finished selling these world-defying God-becoming Dan, and was caught by the Wood Mountain sect. Although my luck is lacking by 1, it's still not bad to have 30 more Tao Creation Holy Stone. Xianxia already had around 300 Tao Creation Holy Stone S and a Tao Creation Holy Crystal, so he was pretty rich. Ling Yong, you must not return to the Tsang Fire City in the future. Xianxia said. I know, I won't even be able to stay in this Tao Creation Mountain anymore. I'll take a walk around the other Tao Creation Mountain since I have quite a few Tao Creation Holy Stone on me. Ling Yong felt that his current cultivation was pretty good, being able to accumulate so much Tao Creation Holy Stone. Take care. Xianxia patted Ling Yong's shoulder. We'll meet again if fate wills it. Ling Yong laughed and said goodbye to Xianxia. After Ling Yong left, Xianxia stared at the world-defying Dan grain on the wall and let Su Meiyao come out from the Yu Yao Mountain Villa. Sister Meiyao, do you think that it's easy to learn? Xianxia asked. Su Meiyao stared at the stone wall seriously for a moment. She frowned and shook her head. Not good. Very difficult. Very difficult. I am not a genius who learned Tao Creation's incantations, but I can see that this world-defying Dan grain was formed from a combination of 9 increase spell. Some of them should be connected together. Xianxia nodded his head. Yes. There are a few increase spell that have been perfectly linked together. They are not overlapping with each other. That's why this world-defying Dan grain looks very simple. It does not seem to be densely packed after overlapping. Not only was it perfectly linked together, it was even modified. It might even have been added to other Tao Creation incantations, but we could not see it. Su Meiyao was also an alchemist. Using world-defying Dan grain seemed to be the highest realm of an alchemist. Let's learn together, Xianxia said. If only your master was here. She was very familiar with the Tao Creation's incantations. She would definitely be able to see through a lot of things. Su Meiyao said. I must save her. Xianxia sighed now that Xiao Xianglin was still locked up in the Dragon Elephant School. If he wanted to save Xiao Xianglin, he had to have the cultivation of the late period of world-defying magic realm, which was the most basic thing. Su Meiyao did not have much patience. She tossed and turned for 2 days before returning to the Yu Yao Mountain Villa. She entered the time arrays to refine them, and the Meijing sisters was also growing multicolored flowers inside. Su Meiyao felt that refining pills was much more enjoyable than learning to become a world-defying Dan grain. The quality of the world-defying God-becoming Dan she refined was not bad either, it was mainly for girls like them to eat. Xianxia had already started to carve this flying Dan grain out of thin air. He didn't know why, but he suddenly felt that this flying Dan grain wasn't that hard to learn. Himself also felt that it was strange. When he had tried previously, he had only been able to create a relatively decent flying Dan grain after a few attempts, and as he kept trying, the process gradually became much smoother. In just 10 days of time, he was able to successfully create a flying Dan grain. Sister Meiyao, why don't you come out and try? Why do I suddenly feel like it's very easy? Xianxia shouted towards the Yu Yao Mountain Villa. If I don't try, it will be difficult, even harder than learning the Tao Creation's incantation. You can learn it first and then guide me. Su Meiyao pouted. To her, learning world-defying Dan grain was like a nightmare. All right. Xianxia just wanted Su Meiyao to test whether it was really that easy to grasp or not. Could it be my misconception? Maybe I can smoothly inscribe it, but it is still far from success. Before, Xianxia had heard from him that even though he had studied for many years, he still could not succeed. Xianxia shook his head. He no longer thought about it and continued to learn the world-defying Dan grain. Right now, he could smoothly form a flying Dan grain with one breath, but he still felt that he was lacking something. In the next 2 months, he had gradually grasped this flying Dan grain. It could be carved to look exactly like the one on the stone wall, but it lacked a trace of spirituality. Do I have to refine it into a pill? Xianxia took out a world-defying God-becoming Dan. He did not know how to use it, so he could just directly inscribe it on the surface of the pill. Let's begin. Xianxia took a deep breath. The flying Dan grain that he had previously carved were all very large, and the one that he had carved on the surface of the pellet right now was very small. Let me try and release my strongest arrogant morale. Then, I will form a pill pattern and inscribe it on this pellet. Xianxia remembered that Yan Jiu had said before that the consumption required to inscribe a world-defying Dan grain was enormous, and that he would have to pay a great price. Xianxia began to release his own arrogant morale, condensing it into extremely thin threads. With no one to guide him, he could only figure it out by himself. Based on his own experience, he was able to determine what to do next. In 10 whole days, he had used half of his energy to condense the flying Dan grain. He had already succeeded, but he was still missing something, which made him very angry. He was sure that even if the world-defying Dan grain was carved onto the surface of the world-defying God-becoming Dan, it would not have any use because it was missing one thing. He could not say what it was. He could only feel that the world-defying God-becoming Dan would not fuse with the flying Dan grain. What is it? Xianxia thought hard. He wished that an alchemist could teach him a thing or two, because thinking about this answer was extremely painful. Pay the price of my life? Xianxia carefully thought back to what Yan Jiu had said. Yan Jiu had once said that in order to condense flying Dan grain, one could even pay the price of one's life. All right, I'll throw caution to the wind. Xianxia took a deep breath and frowned. He forced out all of his life force and poured it all into the flying Dan grain. His pure life force flowed into the flying Dan grain like a ray of blood-red light. The flying Dan grain was like a bottomless pit, crazily devouring his life force. Seeing this, Xianxia's eyes lit up, because there was finally an effect. Sieging, how beautiful, quickly send me your life force. Anxiously shouted. The flying Dan grain had suddenly increased its devouring speed in an instant, and Xianxia could feel that his life force was disappearing many times faster. Jiang Sime and Jiang Sijing had trained in the power of life and regeneration for many years, and both of them were already at the world-defying stage divine rank. She very quickly released a large amount of life force and channeled it into Xianxia's divine sense C, allowing him to absorb it on his own. There were all sorts of strange flowers and herbs growing in Yu Yao Mountain Villa, which could also provide a large amount of life force. This flying Dan grain is so deadly, Xianxia couldn't help but exclaim. It had already been devouring his life force continuously for 2 days, and if not for the Mei Jing sisters' support, he would have been sucked dry long ago. 3 days had passed, and the originally pure white flying Dan grain had become blood-red and alluring. Yet it looked as if it had a trace of spiritual energy. This was what Xianxia thought was missing previously. This was the qi. I wonder if it can be successfully branded on the world-defying God-becoming Dan. Xianxia had spent more than 2 months to torture the flying Dan grain, and he felt that he was not far from success. The flying Dan grain was being controlled by Xianxia and covered on the surface of the world-defying God-becoming Dan. Currently, it was flashing with a red light. Xianxia thought that it would be easier to follow along, because he could feel that the world-defying God-becoming Dan had formed a resonance with the flying Dan grain. Just as Xianxia was rejoicing in the situation, a strong devouring force suddenly appeared. This time, not only did he feel his life force being drained, he also felt the blood in his body being frantically devoured. Mimi, Sieging, save me! Xianxia shouted in shock. He could not shake the flying Dan grain off either. Jiang Sime and Jiang Sijing immediately channeled all of their life force into Xianxia. Blood! 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 Xianxia's body was strong, and his blood was also strong. Eat the blood shark fitness Dan, Su Meiyao anxiously shouted. Previously, when Xianxia needed her life force, she had already escaped from the time array, worried that something might happen to Xianxia. Su Meiyao took a big pile of blood shark fitness Dan and stuffed it into Xianxia's mouth, allowing him to chew. After Xianxia ate a large amount of blood shark fitness Dan, His pale, shriveling up body finally recovered a bit of color. Luckily, the young girl Danling was able to refine a lot of the blood. In order to condense more blood shark fitness Dan, they went inside the time array. In just a moment, they brought out a big basket and like rice, they placed it beside Xianxia. Su Meiyao kept stuffing it into his mouth, trying to replenish his blood. Xianxia trained like this for a whole day and night before the flying Dan grain finally began to slow down and engulf and devour. I almost died, refining pills and using world-defying Dan grain. I really have to pay with my life. Xianxia sighed again. It's nothing. Aren't you fine now? Su Meiyao laughed. The world-defying God-becoming Dan fused with the flying Dan grain, and the instant after, all of the world-defying God-becoming Dan's aura disappeared in an instant. Previously, it had even released a trace of a faint aura and pill fragrance, but now it was completely gone. Xianxia looked at the world-defying God-becoming Dan on his palm, and said with a frown, "This pellet is trembling. The inside is very, very hot." After speaking, he couldn't help but loosen his grip on the world-defying God-becoming Dan. The world-defying God-becoming Dan was currently like a red-hot metal bead, constantly emitting waves of heat. In an instant, the entire stone room was filled with steam. Evolving! Su Meiyao was drenched in sweat from the heat. This heat is way higher than the temperature of your blood and fire. Xianxia did not expect that there would be such a shocking change after he had successfully engraved the inscription. In order to test the core's current temperature, Xianxia took out a piece of crystal emperor and controlled it to float at the side. Just as it approached the pellet, the crystal emperor instantly melted, and its energy was also absorbed by the pellet. Self-refining. Su Meiyao looked at the world-defying God-becoming Dan that was floating in the air while constantly shaking, and looked forward to the effects of this pellet. It should be. After carving the flying Dan grain, this pellet of pellet had such a change. It should be the effect of the flying Dan grain. Xianxia earnestly stared at the pellet, patiently waiting. We have already been in Tao Creation Mountain for half a year. Su Meiyao snuggled close to Xianxia and looked at the world-defying God-becoming Dan's pellet that was continuously emitting heat. They had already waited for a month. Xianxia didn't dare to do anything during this month. He could only watch quietly, worried that something might happen to the pellet. Su Meiyao would also come out of the time array from time to take a look. The fiery red world-defying God-becoming Dan floated in the air and continuously trembled. Every time it trembled, waves of hot air would leak out, and Xianxia did not know when it would end. It doesn't seem that intense anymore, Su Meiyao said. She struggled out of Xianxia's embrace and sat up looking at the world-defying God-becoming Dan. Xianxia anxiously walked over. After the world-defying God-becoming Dan had stopped trembling, it gradually dimmed down. Previously, it had been as red as a glowing ruby, but now that it had dimmed down, it had turned into a grayish-black color, like a piece of carbon. No signs of life. It's ice cold, as if it's dead. When the pellet fell, Xianxia immediately caught it with his hand. Holding it in his hand, he felt disappointed. Could it be that he failed? Su Meiyao was a little worried. Xianxia had spent a lot of time and energy on this pill, and now he had to use this time to increase his own strength to save Xiao Xianglin. I don't know, I'll eat and see. Xianxia opened his mouth and threw the pellet into his mouth. After swallowing it, Xianxia started to feel an ice-cold feeling from before, causing him to involuntarily cover his stomach. The sudden coldness made his stomach tingle, making him feel a kind of throbbing pain in his abdomen. How is it? Su Meiyao saw the pain on Xianxia's face and asked anxiously. Just as Xianxia wanted to speak, he felt the ice in his abdomen suddenly disappear. And then, a warm feeling appeared, causing him to feel extremely comfortable. It's very strange. This was the first time Xianxia had eaten a pellet refined with a flying Dan grain, and he didn't know what was going on when he encountered this kind of situation. After the warm current appeared, the temperature gradually rose. It's here. It's working. Xianxia suddenly shouted out in shock. His face was full of excitement. What a terrifying wave of energy! After he finished talking, The pellet in his abdomen suddenly cracked open and burst open. A violent wave of energy surged within his body like a raging wave. He immediately sat down cross-legged and channeled his cultivation technique to unblock the energy that was continuously flowing out and control it to enter the divine sense sea. The 6 beasts in the divine sense sea was suddenly extremely excited. The energy that was rushing into the divine sense sea was like several huge rivers that rushed towards the 6 beasts as well as his proud divine soul. It's really strong. Even Su Meiyao, who was beside Xianxia, could feel the aura that was emitted from the explosion of his energy. Xianxia had his doubts about the effectiveness of the world-defying Dan Grain before, but now, his doubts had been completely dispelled. He also found it hard to understand why the world-defying God-becoming Dan would become so terrifying and contain so much energy after fusing with the world-defying Dan Grain. I understand. Feng Kuer suddenly said, the Tao creation incantation has a subtle connection with the myriad Tao, so the energy of the Tao creation incantation comes from the myriad Tao world. The world-defying Dan Grain was evolved from the Tao creation's incantation. Previously, it was constantly heating up and was crazily absorbing the myriad Tao's power to improve itself. It's just that we can't feel the connection between the world-defying Dan Grain and the myriad Tao at all. After the Tao creation incantation was evolved by the smart alchemist, it could absorb a lot of energy that was more compatible with the divine pellet, and a large portion of the energy absorbed by the Tao creation incantation was not beneficial to the divine pellet. The world-defying stage Soul River was an extremely large number of Tao creation incantation, so there was an unending flow of energy to nurture the world-defying stage Fierce Soul. Xianxia felt that Feng Kuer's words were reasonable. Amongst the myriad Tao, there were many different types of energy, and the energy that was the most suitable for the divine pellets to raise in quality was the best. Refining this energy will take a long time. I need to release a time domain, Xianxia said. Su Meiyao entered the Yu Yao mountain villa and continued refining her world-defying God-becoming Dan. She felt that it wouldn't be easy to master the flying Dan Grain, so she didn't plan to learn it now. Xianxia used the second stage of time domain and stayed inside for nearly 100 years before he managed to refine that power. After he came out from inside, more than a month had passed outside. Late period of world-defying magic realm. When Xianxia released his arrogant morale, the ground and mountains suddenly shook. He did not use the power of the divine sense sea's 6 beasts yet. Just a single world-defying God-becoming Dan that had joined the world-defying Dan Grain had caused him to step into the late period of world-defying magic realm from the middle stage. Although he had refined it for 100 years, it was still an extremely fast speed. Even Xiao Xianglin had only been at the peak of the middle stage of the world-defying stage divine rank before. It's about time to go back. Xianxia walked out of the cave with a profound gaze, staring into the distance. He could no longer wait to return to the Dragon Elephant School to save Xiao Xianglin. Before he left, he came to an inn in the Tsang Fire City. This was the room that Song Long Profound had rented before he left, and the lease term had not yet arrived. Big brother. Song Long Profound was actually inside. He was very excited when he saw Xianxia had arrived. He had heard about Ling Yong's matter and was about to go save Ling Yong. He had even succeeded in doing so, but Xianxia's delay in coming back made him extremely worried. I'm fine. Those guys can't do anything to me. Xianxia chuckled. Long Xian, how's the progress of your curse literature? You learn very quickly. Brother, there is an old man who knows that my talent is not bad. He said that he wants to take me as his disciple. He is from another Tao creation mountain. Do you think I should go? Song Long Profound asked. Of course I'm going. This is an extremely rare opportunity. Xianxia asked, what's the level of that old man? The old man said that he had mastered all of the Tao creation's incantations and even showed them to me. It should be very reliable. Song Long Profound said, all right, you can go with him. When the time comes, help me keep an eye out for world-defying Dan Grain. It will be useful to me. Xianxia had already tasted the sweetness of world-defying Dan Grain. He only had flying Dan Grain like this kind of existence now. All right, I will definitely pay attention. If it wasn't for you giving me so many Tao creations incantation, I wouldn't have been looked up to by that old man. Song Long Profound chuckled. I will definitely learn a lot in the future, and help Big Brother get more world-defying Dan Grain. And we will meet again in the future. We will definitely meet again. Xianxia laughed. Xianxia bid his farewell to Song Long Profound in such a simple manner. The 7 Tao Creation Mountainess were neither big nor small. They would be able to meet again in the future. After Xianxia left the Tsang Fire City, he summoned Ahu and rode him out of the Tao Creation Mountain, entering the white mist. Dragon Elephant School. Master, I am here. You must have suffered a lot over this period of time. Xianxia's expression was solemn, his fists clenched. He gazed into the distance and gave way. Back then, Xianxia had only been captured to avenge him, and used the Tao Creation's sacred crystal to blow the Grand Elder to death. This was all to help him vent his anger. When Xianxia thought back to the elders in the Dragon Elephant School who had deprived him of his legendary mantra, he could not help but feel anger in his heart. Back then, his strength was weak, and he was not even a match for those elders. Even though Xianxia was his master, the strength of those elders was still hard for her to shake. However, as her teacher, how could she just sit by and watch her disciple suffer without being able to do anything? Therefore, she gave it her all. She wanted to make those elders pay a heavy price no matter what the cost. She had done it, but it had put her in a desperate situation where she was captured and sealed by the elders. The strongest elder in the Dragon Elephant School is also the peak of world-defying magic realm. If they truly had a cultivation level that surpasses the peak of world-defying magic realm, they would have already gone to the Tao Creation Mountain. Xianxia was currently using the late period of world-defying magic realm, and he believed that by using the power of the Red Fire Dragon, he would be able to rival the peak of world-defying magic realm. This time, I can only succeed. I can't fail. He had to settle the debt of having Xianxia's legendary mantra stolen from him with the elder of the Dragon Elephant School. Within 10 days, Xianxia arrived at the bustling city outside the Dragon Elephant School. Ahu was currently in the middle stages of the world-defying stage divine rank, and his speed had increased in all aspects, becoming a great help to him. He had only been gone for more than half a year, but there seemed to be a lot going on here. The previously injured sect leader-s had now recovered from their injuries. Those sects that had lost their leader-s in the barrier also had new leader-s born. The moment Xianxia returned, he heard everyone talking about what had just happened. 10 days ago, Xianxia's parents returned. Xianxia's parents had been missing for a period of time, and their whereabouts were already unknown when Xianxia was in trouble. They came back 10 days ago. They seemed to have known about this long ago, so they attacked and tried to rescue their daughter as soon as they came back. Although they were just half a step away from the peak of world-defying magic realm, against the few elders of the Dragon Subduing School S, they were no match for them. So, Xianxia's parents were quickly taken down, seriously injured from the beating, and hung in front of the Dragon Elephant School's gate as an example to the people. Xianxia had already arrived at the entrance of the Dragon Elephant School. Xiao Hongyong and Ning Qian's bodies were covered in blood and wounds, both of them looking listless. Seeing this scene, the anger in Xianxia's heart almost burst out. This was Xianxia's parents. Although they were normally strict with Xianxia, they still doted on their daughter. This is what happens to the traitors of the Dragon Elephant School. First, it was their precious daughter who betrayed them, and then it was them. He was palace main disciples of the Dragon Elephant School. His name was Li Kai, and Xianxia remembered him. He was sworn enemies with Xianxia. Xianxia being here today is such a great pleasure. I have long disliked this unreasonable woman. Li Kai laughed sinisterly, as if he was a small person who had achieved his goals. You can't bear to look at her because you're not as strong as her, Xianxia said in a deep voice, purposely speaking loudly, so that the thousands of people around him could hear him. I'm not stronger than her? What a joke! Li Kai smirked, then glared at Xianxia with a hint of anger. Xianxia had already changed his appearance. He could not recognize him at all. You're not as strong as her. I can only blame her here. This is truly a very funny thing. Xianxia also laughed. I'm right. You're even worse than women, useless trash. Li Kai suddenly became furious. This was the entrance to the Dragon Elephant School, and to think that someone would mock him like this at his front door. Anyone would get angry at this. What kind of thing are you? On what basis am I not stronger than Xianxia? I could kill a woman like her with a single slap. Li Kai bellowed and walked towards Xianxia. Oh? Xianxia could kill a few elders, which meant you can kill a few elders with a single slap? Haha. You are so powerful. The Dragon Elephant School sent you here to guard the door. You are truly a waste of your talent. Xianxia laughed and said. Li Kai was infuriated to the point that he could not hold back. He walked in front of Xianxia and slapped him with his palm. Li Kai was from the palace main disciples, and was at the peak of the middle stage of the world-defying stage divine rank. He was almost at the late stage, and could be considered more outstanding among his generation. He was extremely confident in his own strength. You talk too much. When Li Kai's palm landed, he shouted angrily. With a move of Xianxia's mind, a burst of arrogant morale formed an invisible shield, bringing with it a burst of scorching power. Li Kai's palm landed on the invisible shield, causing a burst of smoke to emit from his palm, and in the next moment it melted, turning into ashes. Li Kai looked at his disappearing palm in horror. His whole body was trembling, and he kept retreating. He knew the man in front of him was very strong, and he was not someone he could deal with. Right now, Xianxia was a late period of world-defying magic realm, adding on the fact that he had the power of a six beasts. A person like Li Kai was just a pile of ashes in his eyes. You? Who are you? Li Kai screamed in shock. Xianxia immediately changed back to his original appearance. I am Xianxia, and Xianxia is my master. After he finished speaking, Xianxia fiercely kicked Li Kai's abdomen. Scram back and tell those dog shit elders. If they don't release my master, I will flatten Dragon Elephant School. After being fiercely kicked by Xianxia, Li Kai was sent flying through the Dragon Elephant School entrance. He did not know where he was kicked to, but after a while, a sound came from inside. Xianxia jumped up and waved his heavenly magic sword, cutting apart the chains binding Xiao Hongyong and Ning Qian. Then, he placed the couple into the Six Realms mirrors and let the Mei Jing sisters treat their injuries. Just as they were saved, two elders ran out from Dragon Elephant School. The elder of was the one who saved them. Xianxia, you evil person, use your killing evil dragoness and commit heinous crimes everywhere. Your master even killed my Dragon Elephant School's elder. Don't think of leaving today. As an old man spoke, he held a huge blade in his hand and walked over to Xianxia. Xianxia's body moved like the wind. In a blink of an eye, he was already behind the old man, only to see his arm suddenly transforming into a flaming dragon claw, directly smashing onto the old man's head. Following the burst of a dragon roar, the dragon claw shook, and a fire dragon came out from the dragon claw, which pierced through the old man's entire body. The old man instantly turned into ashes. Another clan elder also attacked. He had witnessed everything from up close, and instantly killed all of these elders of the late period of world-defying magic realm. His strength was truly at the peak of world-defying magic realm. This elder's heart was currently in turmoil and incomparably shocked, because half a year ago, Xianxia was merely a Aoshi holy stage, and it was only half a year later before he stepped into the peak of world-defying magic realm. This was a peerless genius. The elder didn't think too much and immediately changed his attack to defend. He knew that Xianxia's current strength was extraordinary and would only be able to contend against the peak of world-defying magic realm in the future. Furthermore, Xianxia was currently being imprisoned, so he naturally did not care about anything else as his disciple. Whoever blocked him would die, just like the elder who was killed by Xianxia. Although the elders had already used all of their power to defend and at the same time move backwards, he thought that he could escape, but he didn't expect Xianxia to actually understand the power of space and teleported behind him. Roar! The dragon let out a long roar, its fury like a dragon. Its claws roared, pouring into the old man's body from above his head. The dragon fire sprayed out in all directions, and with a boom, the old man's body turned into ashes. When the surrounding few thousand people saw that Xianxia's two claws had killed the two arrogant elders of the Dragon Elephant School, their hearts trembled and their hairs stood up. When they felt the domineering, arrogant morale of Xianxia that looked down upon the world, they had the urge to kneel down. Xianxia, you're finally here. I've been waiting for you for a long time. You were once a disciple of the Dragon Elephant School, but you betrayed the Dragon Elephant School, and you even killed an elder of the Dragon Elephant School. The one who spoke was Yuan Jiqing, leader of the Dragon Elephant School. Back then, it was Chen Xiang and Xiao Xianglin who had saved him. Just when Chen Xiang felt that this Yuan Jiqing was ungrateful and angry, he heard Yuan Jiqing sending him a sound transmission. Quickly capture me. Then use me to threaten those elders and have them release your master. The voice that came from Yuan Jiqing made Chen Xiang feel gratified. He felt that it wasn't in vain that he had saved him. Incompetent leader. Chen Xiang pretended to be extremely angry and shouted angrily. He then threw out his 6 realms mirrors, released a barrier, and sealed Yuan Jiqing, who flew out. After that, he immediately rushed over and gave Yuan Jiqing a round of punches and kicks. Finally, he kept Yuan Jiqing inside his 6 realms mirrors. The surrounding crowd, who were scared to the point of retreating earlier, all stopped at this moment. They were scared to the point that their legs had gone limp, that leader was actually captured in a matter of moments, and it wasn't that easy to catch a mouse. Disciples of the Dragon Elephant School, listen up. Your leader has already been captured by me. If you want me to return Dragon Elephant School, then release my master. I will come back tomorrow morning. After Chen Xiang finished speaking, he immediately flew into the air and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Without Chen Xiang's oppressive, arrogant morale, everyone felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted as they all let out a long sigh. Chen Xiang hid outside the city and entered the 6 realms mirrors. Seniors, I am truly sorry. If it wasn't for me, Master wouldn't be in such a predicament. Chen Xiang felt extremely guilty. Xiao Hongyong and Ning Qian loved their daughter as if her life depended on it. She often restricted Xiao Xianglin from doing all sorts of dangerous things. Now that things have developed to this point, there's no point in speaking any further. Xiao Hongyong sighed. Maybe this is her life. Besides, we can handle what she's doing. Ning Shi sighed lightly and said, She is your master, and yet you are being treated like this by the elder. She stood up for her disciple, showing that she is a competent master. It is already unforgivable for those doyens to do such a thing. The reason why she killed a few doings of the doyens is also because she is taking justice for the heavens. Yuan Jiqing rubbed his waist. He had been beaten up by Chen Xiang just now. You brat, your attacks are really ruthless. Yuan Jiqing muttered. Humph, you useless leader. You still have the nerve to come see me. It was me and my master who saved you, so you should be clear about who retrieved your life. It had already been half a year and you couldn't do anything, right? Chen Xiang was extremely angry, and this was also the reason why his actions were so heavy. Ning Qian and Xiao Hongyong were secretly shocked. They knew that Yuan Jiqing had been severely injured after returning from the barrier, but they did not know that Yuan Jiqing was saved by Chen Xiang and Xiao Xianglin. I have my own difficulties too. Xiang Luan is locked in the divine tower of an elder. This divine tower is the divine tool of the elder and is hidden in the elder's divine sense. What do you want me to do? Yuan Jiqing shook his head and sighed. I really have no other choice. I have also discussed with Brother Wan how to save her, but I still don't have a good idea. As the leader, Wan Haishu was extremely powerful and his injuries had already recovered. He was saved by Chen Xiang and Xiao Xianglin, and his relationship with Yuan Jiqing was also pretty good. Xiao Hongyong and Ning Qian had placed all their hopes of saving Xiao Xianglin on Chen Xiang. They knew that Chen Xiang was very strong. He had only gone missing for half a year, and that he could instantly kill an elder of the Dragon Elephant School. They suddenly felt that their daughter had very good eyes. She had actually accepted such a powerful disciple. Yuan Jiqing, do you think they are willing to use my master to exchange for you? Chen Xiang looked at Yuan Jiqing with contempt. I will definitely do so. I am a leader of the Dragon Elephant School. Yuan Jiqing said with certainty. I am a cultivator of the peak of world-defying magic realm after all, and am very important to the Dragon Elephant School. Really? Chen Xiang's face was filled with suspicion. causing Yuan Jiqing to curse in his heart. It's true. Yuan Jiqing gave a casual smile, filled with absolute confidence. And if they don't? Chen Xiang asked again. How could I not? Yuan Jiqing had never thought of this. He felt that since he was a leader, he must be very important to him. I said if. Chen Xiang asked. If they don't, then I will leave Dragon Elephant School and risk my life to save your master. Yuan Jiqing said very seriously. I am not an ungrateful person. The news of Chen Xiang capturing the Dragon Elephant School quickly spread through the 10 great sects and many forces of the region. This was mainly because the Dragon Elephant School had spent a large amount of resources and used the transmission array to spread the news. When the elders of the Dragon Elephant School learned that Chen Xiang had advanced by leaps and bounds, they were naturally extremely shocked. They all thought that it was because of the killing evil dragon, so they had to ask the people of the Dragon Controlling Palace to come over. The people of the Dragon Controlling Palace were very willing, and were very interested in the killing evil dragon. Especially after knowing that Chen Xiang had advanced by leaps and bounds through the killing evil dragon, and had stepped into the peak of world-defying magic realm from the Aoshi Holy Stage in half a year, they all used a large number of the Crystal Emperor to open up the transmission array and headed towards the Dragon Elephant School. Leader of the Tao Creation School, upon learning of this matter, immediately guessed Yuan Jiqing's intentions. He also felt that this method was not bad, and might actually be able to save Xiao Xianglin. The elders of the Tao Creation School had a good relationship with the elders of the Dragon Elephant School, so they immediately brought Wan Haishu to the Dragon Elephant School. The killing evil dragon are really powerful. To actually let Chen Xiang grow so much in half a year, they had already passed through the transmission array and arrived at the Dragon Elephant School. Wan Haishu was sure that Chen Xiang did not pass through the killing evil dragon. It was because Chen Xiang had come to find him before and asked him where the Tao Creation Mountain was. He knew clearly that Chen Xiang had only become so strong after returning from the Tao Creation Mountain.